Welcome to the Ascension Center podcast, where we dive headfirst into the realms of telepathy, remote viewing, and the tantalizing world of psych phenomena. Here, we challenge the status quo and shatter the glass ceiling of human potential. We're on a mission to elevate consciousness and ignite the spark of the extraordinary within each and every one of us. So come along as we gather each week to delve into captivating discussions and awe-inspiring interviews that will fuel your curiosity and inspire the trailblazer within. Are you ready to transcend limitations and reach for the stars? Then buckle up, because the Ascension Center podcast starts now.
Hi, I'm Linda Sevilla from the Ascension Center. At the Ascension Center, we're all about teaching you tools to help you leverage the power of your own subconscious mind. In this episode, I want to talk about why should you do that? Why is it important for us to take control of our subconscious? Why bother? So I'm going to be getting into that in this episode, and stick around because at the end, I'm going to have a tool that you can begin using right away to begin influencing your own subconscious mind. And so let's dive right in. Why should we attempt to control or leverage our subconscious? Reason number one, the subconscious does whatever it is programmed to do. I'm a hypnotherapist. I've been a hypnotherapist since 1999. I have helped literally thousands of people in my practice accomplish things like let go of negative habits or behaviors, change their belief system, overcome trauma, anxiety, depression, and a lot of this has to do with how we speak to the subconscious mind. And so because the subconscious runs the majority of your behavior, when you know how to speak to it properly, you can get your subconscious to do pretty much whatever you want it to do. And so we can change habits, we can change behaviors, we can change beliefs, we can open ourselves up to greater possibilities. That's reason number one. Reason number two is that alongside being responsible for the majority of your behavior, your subconscious is responsible for all of your emotional reactions. Have you ever been really nervous, really anxious, really scared, really angry, really hurt, really whatever fill in the blank emotion? That was your subconscious running the show. It's really difficult to try to talk ourselves out of feeling some kind of way with our logical mind. When we're coming from our subconscious, when we're in that emotional space, there is just no logic or reason that can shift how we're feeling, unless you know how to talk to your subconscious. So we can, by accessing the subconscious, change negative reactions to healthier, more positive ones. And we can more easily cultivate positive emotional states like gratitude, joy, positive expectancy, waiting for good things to happen instead of negative things. Reason number three is your subconscious is your creative mind. And so by accessing the subconscious, we can tap into our own creativity. This might mean removing a writer's block or getting ideas for a creative project. It could mean finding creative solutions to problems. Now, sometimes we'll try to think our way through something that's going on in our lives using logic and reason. But I do believe that our subconscious, because it is creative and intuitive, often knows what is best for us. Now, reason number four is the subconscious is the doorway to source. Now, source can be called many different things. All that is, the web, the matrix, the Akashic records. So everything that ever existed or ever will exist exists right now at source. Everything is energy. Your energy, everything around you is energy. Things look solid, but if you look close enough, everything is energy. Everything is vibration. And it's been proven that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So everything that ever existed or ever will exist exists right now at source. And your subconscious is the gateway or the doorway to source. Now, what this means is that we can access information from source by tapping into our subconscious mind. Is there anything you would like to know more about? Would you like to know what's really going on in the world, not the narrative that we're given? Would you like to know somebody's agenda, what's really going on in their heart or mind? Would you like to get clarity into how events in your own life have shaped you? Would you like to have access to a big library with all information on any topic that you're interested in and be able to peruse that library at will? Well, those are some of the things that you can do by accessing Source. You can get clarity or insight about any person, thing, or event, past, present, or future. That's a pretty good reason to access your subconscious, is it not? And reason number 5 is we are all connected. Again, quantum physics has proven that we are all interwoven. We are all part of Source. We are all one great big soup, basically. So, when we improve our own health, reality, well-being, our circumstances, we are contributing to a healthier world. When we put more good into the world, that affects everybody. I have a wish. My wish is for a tipping point to be reached. My wish is to put so much good into the world and to give people the tools and knowledge to do the same for themselves that there's actually more good than evil. That's what I desire. And so we're all connected. When we take charge of our own subconscious and create the circumstances that we desire, when we create lives that we are excited to live, when we feel joyful and as though our lives are meaningful, that contributes to a healthier world overall. Now, I'd like to go a little more deeply into some of these topics. Now, the first thing that I said was the subconscious does whatever it is programmed to do. The problem is most of us are not aware of the programming that already exists, and most of us are not intentionally programming our own subconscious mind. What that means is old programs are running your behavior. Remember I said your subconscious runs 90 to 95% of your behavior? Where does that behavior come from? Let's have a deeper look at that. Okay, so we are born only with a subconscious mind. What this means is that we don't have our conscious mind, our logical, analytical mind when we're born. This is Mother Nature's way of making sure that we learn everything that we need to learn in those first few years of our lives. We've got a lot of things to learn when we first come into this world. We need to learn how to eat, we need to learn how to crawl, we need to learn language, we need to learn how to interact with the people around us and communicate what it is we want. And so there's a lot of things we need to learn. By only having a subconscious mind, we're able to take in information more easily. Your subconscious has unlimited storage space. You could study every single day of your life and still have room in your subconscious for more information. And so again, we're born only with a subconscious mind so that we can take in everything that we need to take in, learn all the things that we need to learn in those first couple of years of our life. Now, because the subconscious is illogical, it has no way to evaluate or judge any of that information we're taking in. It just accepts all of the information as fact. If you were a year old and I showed you a circle and told you that it was a triangle, if nobody got to you first to explain shapes to you, you would just believe me. Your subconscious is not rational. It doesn't go, no, that's not a circle, it's a triangle. Because there's no ability to censor, filter out information, you would just take that into your subconscious and it would take somebody a little work later to convince you otherwise. Now, after 8 or 9, we develop our logical mind. It actually starts developing around 2 or 3. If you're a parent, this is the time when you would have noticed your kids asking why, constantly bombarding you with questions. That's because they're now beginning to develop their logical mind, the part of the mind with which we evaluate and analyze and judge. Now, when we hit 8 or 9 and that logical mind is fully formed, we can now filter out messages that were given. And so if you're an adult and I try to tell you that a circle is a triangle, you'll probably look at me like I'm crazy. You'll say, no, it's not. That's ridiculous. This is a circle. That's the feeling of something hitting that filter that exists between the conscious and subconscious mind and bouncing out. You're rejecting what I'm telling you because you can analyze and judge for yourself and say, no, that's not the correct shape. You're wrong. However, there are times when that filter between the conscious and subconscious mind is open and we're taking in information or messaging without even knowing it. This happens on several occasions. It happens when we are emotional or overwhelmed. I said earlier that your subconscious is your emotional mind. If you're ever in a highly emotional state, your subconscious is wide open. Whatever messages you're being given by the people around you or messages you're giving yourself are going straight into your subconscious at those times. The subconscious is also accessible when we're under the influence or under anesthetic. They've done some interesting studies where they've taken people who were anesthetized for some medical procedure or treatment and put them in hypnosis, and they were able to recall things that were said and done even though they were knocked out under the influence of anesthetic, things that could be verified by other people who were in the room. And so your body and your conscious mind are affected by the anesthetic, but your subconscious is wide open. There's no longer a conscious mind to filter out information. You're just taking it in. The filter is also open when we're around somebody whose opinion matters to us or somebody we want to impress. We are social beings. We want to have a sense of belonging. In fact, way down in our DNA somewhere, I think we are wired to belong. If our caveman ancestors didn't belong to a tribe or a group, they didn't survive. And so we have it built into our primal self that we need to be accepted by the people around us. And so if somebody we care about, somebody whose opinion matters to us says, you're never going to amount to anything, that gets taken in on a subconscious level and will affect you. Maybe it'll cause self-doubt or insecurity, or maybe you'll wonder why the person looks at you that way. And so it's hard to just brush off a message when it comes from somebody we care about because the subconscious takes it in. That filter is also open whenever we're around authorities. This is why the placebo works. We tend to put the doctor on a pedestal. We go see the doctor, they give us a sugar pill and say this medicine's going to make you feel better. And there's no medicine in the pill. It's saline, it's sugar, it's something that doesn't have medicinal value, and yet people get better. And so we're taught from the time we're little to respect our elders, listen to authorities, don't question. And so even when we become adults ourselves, that filter still opens when we're around authorities. We're still primed to take in what authorities say to us. The filter is also open whenever we're zoned out. Now, when I hypnotize people, when I put them into a hypnotic state, all I'm doing is lowering their brain waves. So when you are in a normal, aware of space and time kind of state, you're in a beta state. If you stare at a spot on a wall for a little while and relax a little bit, you'll enter into alpha. Down below that is theta, and then sleep is delta. So when we zone out, we're actually going into a natural trance state. We're going into an alpha or theta state, and in that state, we're more open to suggestions. That's what I'm doing when I hypnotize people. But we zone out all of the time. Anytime you're doing something but your mind is somewhere else, your subconscious is accessible. So, driving your car and not paying attention to the road because you're thinking in your mind about what you're going to do later, or sitting in front of the television but just kind of barely paying attention to what's on TV. These situations where we are zoned out, we are wide open to whatever messaging we're getting from the world around us. And I alluded to this earlier, but we also give ourselves messages. Do you have a voice inside your head? It might be the voice that's saying, no, I don't have a voice. What voice? What is she talking about? We all have a voice inside our heads. We have a voice that is constantly running commentary on our lives and everything that's going on around us. Is that voice pleasant and compassionate and kind? Or can that voice be critical or judgmental or even downright mean? There are times when you're speaking to yourself and whatever you're saying to yourself is being received into your subconscious. And so just as we receive messages or programming from different sources around us, we also do it to ourselves. Whenever you're self-critical, whenever you're mean to yourself, your subconscious, unfortunately, is listening in and taking those messages to heart. And so in all of these situations, our mind is being programmed. Up until 2 or 3 years old, whenever we're around authorities, when we're exposed to media or social media, which we tend to give authority to, when we're around peers, when we're emotional or overwhelmed, when we're speaking to ourselves, and anytime we're in a natural trance state or zoned out. I almost want to say, when are we not having programming occurring? We're in one of those states almost all the time. And there are many, many different sources of programming. This could be our parents. We learn the family rules. We learn what's right or wrong from our parents, what kind of people we are, what kind of people we should aspire to be. We learn it from our peers. Do we fit in? Which group do we belong in? Are we cool? We learn it from society. Again, we pick up programming from media and social media, from our educational institutions, from advertising, and of course, anybody that we look to as an authority. And so we are constantly being told what to believe, what to value, who we are, who we aren't, what we are capable of, what our limitations are, what reality is, what is true or false, right or wrong, what's desirable or attractive, what's socially acceptable. And because the subconscious is illogical, it doesn't know right from wrong, good from bad, wanted from not wanted, true from false. It just takes in those messages at the times when we are vulnerable and we are impressionable, and it acts on them. Remember, the subconscious does whatever it is programmed to do. And so this creates a vicious cycle. Whatever we have stored in our subconscious controls our reality. In other words, our reality is a byproduct of our perception. You may be familiar with the law of attraction. The law of attraction says that whatever we focus on, we manifest. Everything is energy, including our thoughts, and our thoughts act like attractor magnets. Whatever we focus on, we attract back similar circumstances. And so if we're focusing on our limitations, or how hard it is to make money, or how the world is unsafe, we create that world for ourselves, which of course makes it easier to believe that those messages are true. For example, let's say that I have a scarcity mindset. I believe that there isn't enough money to go around. Well, if that's what I'm putting out to the universe via the law of attraction, those are the circumstances I'm going to create for myself, which essentially prove to me that the belief is true. So around and around and around we go. Now let me expand on this a little bit. What I believe individually creates my world, but we are all connected. What we believe collectively creates the world as a whole. And so think about what messages we are being given. Right now, if you turn on the news, it's going to be about war and disease and financial crises and disconnection. This is what we are being bombarded with by media, social media, politics. Remember, all of those people in positions of authority that tend to influence what we believe on a subconscious level. So because these messages are coming from sources that we look at as credible, we take those messages in on a subconscious level and we contribute to creating that world. And so how do we create a different world? Well, here's another great reason for taking charge of your own subconscious mind. We start with ourselves. We change our own programming. We're intentional with what we put into our subconscious so that we create the world that we desire. And so let me summarize so far. When we don't take charge of our own subconscious mind, it runs old programs. It responds to the messages that we've picked up from various sources in our lives, whether those are our parents, our teachers, our peers, media, social media, politicians, whatever it is, those messages get imprinted into the subconscious, and those programs create our reality. Our collective programs create our collective reality. At the Ascension Center, we believe in removing any limiting programming. We're told what to believe. We're told what we're capable of. We're told what we can and cannot do. And we take those messages in without censoring, which creates limitations for us. For example, I've been working on my own intuitive development since I was in my late teens. And in the beginning, it was a bit of a slog. And the reason for that is the belief system that I had at the time. I was taught that's impossible. Only special people can do that. That's not for everyone. It's woo-woo. It's crazy. There's a famous saying by Henry Ford, whether you believe you can or not, you are correct. So because I believed it was impossible, that was what was going on a subconscious level, that belief undermined my ability to develop my intuition. Now, that turned around for me when I started reading books about the science behind psychic phenomena. When I was looking to credible sources, researchers, scientists, book authors, and I was getting information that said, no, actually, this is possible, this is something we're capable of doing, because it changed my belief system, I was now able to do it myself. And so we have the ability to do so many things. There are people who are telepathic. We teach telepathy at the Ascension Center. There are people who can heal with their hands. There are people who can see spirits and energies and auras. There are people who can astral travel and do lucid dreaming. There are people who can remote view, who can access information from source. What is the difference between those people and the regular Joe? Well, we believe that we have been conditioned to dismiss the subconscious mind. I did a podcast on how our subconscious is our superpower, but it's being squelched. If you want more information about this particular theme, check out that podcast. But in a nutshell, our subconscious and conscious minds were both meant to develop together. But because if we were to be able to tap into our intuitive mind and our creative mind, we could solve big world problems, and there are certain entities that do not want us to do that, it has been intentional to squelch our subconscious to make these kinds of things that we're capable of doing sound like science fiction or fantasy. So there are people who are capable of doing these things, but what if people who are able to do those things don't have some kind of special talent? What if these are people doing what people would do if they'd never been given a limiting belief? What if these people are using talents that we all have, but they've been able to maintain them because their environment supported those talents, or they were never told they couldn't? What if we are unlimited in our potential? And this is what we would all be doing if we took control of our own subconscious, got rid of any limiting programs, and believed in our limitless nature. What if we were all capable of doing these things? We just need to know how to properly access our subconscious and leverage these capabilities. That's what we're all about at the Ascension Center. Everything that we do. We have training in telepathy, lucid dreaming, manifesting, hypnotherapy, XR, which is our proprietary method for accessing information using non-local awareness, and bilocating, which means you can be at that location while you're sitting in the comfort of your home. All of these tools and techniques are about helping you to develop a communication with your subconscious and to be able to use your subconscious the way it was meant to be used. If any of this intrigues you, come and join us at the Ascension Center. Go to learn.ascensioncenter.ca and join our community. We have a private social media where we can talk about all of this crazy stuff without being censored, without somebody filtering what we're putting out there. We offer all kinds of courses, and we have a wonderful, bustling community of like-minded people. I'd love to see you there. All right, so I said I would give you a tool to be able to access your subconscious. Because your subconscious is your creative mind, it responds beautifully to imagery and symbolism. And so one of the tools that I recommend is simply doing some visualization, imagining outcomes that you want for yourself. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between something real and something imagined. When you imagine an outcome that you desire, seeing things go exactly the way you would like them to go, it's kind of like setting a GPS coordinate for your subconscious. It begins to move you in that direction. Not only are you impressing whatever you're imagining upon your subconscious, and the subconscious does what it's programmed to do, when you're doing visualization, you're also sending that thing you're imagining out to the powers that be, and you're co-creating with the universe. You're manifesting those circumstances. And so how do you visualize? Well, you get yourself into a comfortable position and take a few nice deep breaths so you feel relaxed. And then just bring to mind the circumstances that you desire. Imagine things happening the way you would like them to happen, as though you could project yourself into your ideal life and envision how things would be going. Now, the real trick here is to tune in to the feelings you would have if these circumstances were actually taking place. There's a big difference between wanting something and having something in terms of feelings. Because the subconscious is the part of your mind that generates emotions, it understands emotion. You've heard me say a few times throughout this podcast that we need to speak to the subconscious properly. The subconscious is not the language processing part of the mind. That's your conscious mind. The subconscious understands imagery and it understands emotion. And so to really amplify the results of your visualization,